Welcome to the IoT podcast show. Today I am joined by Jouko Koskinen. Jouko is the CTO of Fujitsu Finland. Jouko is noteworthy for his extensive experience in business development to drive change and having over 2 decades of involvement between IT and manufacturing industries. Jouko, thank you so much for joining the podcast show.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much for having me here.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And for those that don't know, this image behind Jouko, we've spoken in the past, is a beautiful image of a lake that's near your house. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I'm a lake. I have a sauna on lakeside there.
Okay.
Even.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All of Finns has one, you know.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. Maybe you could just start by just introducing yourself and your role at Fujitsu, how you got to this position, and your interest in IoT, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as said, I'm a CTO for private sector here in Finland, Fujitsu, and it means that I'm responsible to developing solutions and concepts for our private sector customers based on our Fujitsu IP and our partner technology and solutions. So pretty simple, but we are focusing very much on smart manufacturing because we strongly believe that every enterprise goodness or badness are born at the factory floor level. And we are best to combine operational technology and IT technology, which I would like to say it is only a technology. And my history is that, as said, that past 2 decades I have worked half in manufacturing and process industry in various places and various countries, and second half of that in ICT, so starting with Nokia networks and then through 3-4 major IT players in Finland, and also I have spent 2 years in Russia. Wow. And as a hobby, I'm studying based on knowledge management service and dynamic capabilities theories about digital manufacturing, as I am a PhD candidate. We'll see what happens in future.
I'm sure positive things. Thank you very much for that, Jouko. Manufacturing is a rapidly growing industry in IoT solutions. Right? So we hear a lot about IoT solutions in manufacturing. I'm interested to explain what Fujitsu in your area is doing behind data-driven manufacturing and the operations behind that. Could you explain a little bit about some of the solutions that you are putting together for some of your partners?
Okay, gladly. The history is that every factory is more or less like silo-driven, because in past, based on ISA 95 protocol or standards, they were very hierarchical put up. And in past, there were no need for cybersecurity or digitalization. It just focus on availability and production performance. So this is the current situation. And now many companies have realized that while enterprise and end user services are digitalized and everybody is fussing about those, and what should we do for factories? So that is the thing, that we need to transfer current old-fashioned factories to be modern microservice capable factories. So we are focusing here at Fujitsu that how to make this happen, how we can break down the silos and enable factories be effective and data-driven and real-time driven. But the whole base is the quality of data. And that's why we are focusing very much on data management, harmonizing the data models, which is based for digital twins, and also how to collect data, how to store, what is this factory architecture, and that we are focusing and helping. And one very good principle is that we need to have for every customer certain use case, what they are aiming for, against what we are taking this old landscape and turn it into a new one.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. In terms of data-driven factory operations, this is a fairly new term to some of our listeners and people that are subscribed to the podcast. Could you explain and just go into a bit more depth, if you wouldn't mind, Jouko, about the biggest benefits and potential challenges of data-driven factory operations?
Yeah, the challenge is mostly in people's heads, mental-driven challenges. That we need to learn away from our old-fashioned way of thinking, and so that is the one big, because this is always people business, and we need to get the business cases behind our decisions. So we shouldn't digitalize because of digitalization. We should digitalize for business benefits and against use cases. So that is more or less. But there is challenge that we need to have this data quality to be correct and harmonized and available, because currently data is not always available. We may need to add on certain additional sensors or something in order to get the access to the data. But even though you would have a massive amount of data, it's useless unless you know something where to use it. And that's why we need to have those use cases against what we model the factory data sources, realize are they available or not, what we ought to do, how to bridge those together. Yeah. So that is the challenges there, but they are very much solvable.
Yeah, I think that's clear to see in a lot of conversations that we've had recently with people, is the shift from the traditional factory and the traditional way of doing things, and the mental challenge that they have in bringing this online to a more connected and data-driven model. And it's interesting you should say that, actually, because I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy in the onward steps that we can make towards this and the digitization of this. Something that you mentioned, actually, just while you were explaining that, Jouko, was data harmonization. Could you talk a little bit more about data harmonization, the process, and how it's revolutionizing digital transformation, and specifically within Fujitsu, how you're using this and implementing this model?
Yeah, okay. All right, so starting point is this factory's use case. For example, if they have a use case to have a better troubleshooting, if they have a warranty claim, how to drill down and see what causes that, troubleshooting. So then we have that, and then we have a product. Then we start to model with unified machine language that case, and that way of modeling contains a lot of technical data which are relevant to the product and in each section of productions. So in this way, we have like a value chain and data chain with technical values, dependencies between one-to-one or one-to-many, and then we have modeled the way how the production goes and how the product is born. This is then translated with the digital tools to the data warehouse to be modeled and then collecting data in structural manner.
Right.
And we identify what data is needed, and then either we take only the needed data into the warehouse and all the others goes to the data lake. And we at the Fujitsu recommend that we have a data lake already on factory level and data warehouse and presentation layer, which after with software-driven WAN, SD-WAN, we transfer either with internet or MPLS to the cloud in cyber-secure manner to the enterprise data lake and for machine learning capabilities and environment. And this is basically a very simple architecture. And how to go there is that we go to the customer, we ask what are your challenges, use cases. If they don't know yet, we advise them, build the one, and which after we take what is your current landscape, what technology you have in use, what can we reuse, then what kind of preferences you have for AWS, Microsoft, or wherever, if at all, or open source. So we have then those building blocks that for this use case, you need to have these and these functionalities, starting from factory floor level 0, because there is this level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which after goes to the enterprise and so on. So this is like a technology stack.
Yeah.
So in this way, we build the use case based on that the framework, which we have modeled with all those leading technology vendors plus open source methodologies. And it's like a Lego system, modular and scalable, but always against the business benefit. And it's very nice and challenging.
Yeah, I can see. I think the analogy of it being like a Lego set, right, is great because it's modular, isn't it? So you can just add things together, and there's varying aspects there, particularly the machine learning. That I mean, it's interesting you to say the machine learning. How much does that play in data harmonization, machine learning? We see a lot of businesses looking at machine learning with the advancement of AI. Is that quite integral to the data harmonization process?
It is like one module on the top of it, because once we have a data management platform for the company and factory, on top of it you can build all kind of applications, and machine learning is a part of it. I see the great need for machine learning already on lowest level for quality management, because we have at the Fujitsu computer visual inspection, so we can, whatever we can turn to the picture, we can analyze and detect failures and anomalies there. And immediately with our infrastructure and architecture, we can turn it into through PLC back to the production and say that here is a failure and detection, the quality is not good and bad. So that is one, but then also I see the process optimization great need for that. First, the data science may, as a person, evaluate the threshold values for good or badness, which after we can predict. But once those are manually set, later machine learning can start to automatically adjust it, those threshold values in the future. That is very much doable.
Yeah.
And applied already.
Okay, fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to learn about today, for me personally, was OT security. It's becoming widely implemented across the industrial landscape at the moment. Could you talk a little bit about operation technologies and why it's important for securing today's industrial networks?
Absolutely. Currently, we have faced already many activities around factories. One was in Nordic countries, one steel mill. They lost their production capabilities because of hacking. And based on public known information, it cost 75 or plus million for them to all overall. So there is many others in worldwide. So there is this, it's always people, process, technology, what you need to consider wherever you have a security issue, because your own employee can be one big threat. And then, but anyway, you need to go, as we have now during the COVID time, we have done the OT cybersecurity assessments very successfully. And there is a lot to do, I'm afraid to say. And but it is that we need to walk through the cases. There is certain Purdue model how we can layer it and segment the factories. And then we define that who can talk to whom and how to monitor that systems and others. So this is very key in Fujitsu's operations, and we also always want to say that whatever we are doing, we need to do it cyber-secure manner. So we have services for assessment and then transformation, because old factory turn to the new type of factory on cyber-secure manner is long process, because you cannot shut down the factories whenever you wish. There is certain time per year when it is shut down, and then you need to apply money from management to do something. That's why we do the assessment, offer the service to do over a long time, all fixed and waxed, whatever is needed, and then to operate it for them. Right, so it is the growing issue and not that easy to solve, but with good technology vendors, what we have within the Fujitsu, we do close cooperation, and we have now under development certain very new way of thinking OT cybersecurity solutions. So hopefully to say something more in the end of the year or something.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. We'll be looking out for that. Jouko, we often ask people in positions such as yours, really the biggest trends that they wish to see moving forward and that they think is going to change the landscape. And I'd like to know your insights, but specifically within industrial Internet of Things, where do you think we're going to be in the next few years? How transformative can this be from a CTO standpoint? What do you expect us to see in the next 5 years?
If I say that this year is 21 is the year when the awareness is more and more there, and certain proof of concepts are done, and people are thinking as a companies, meaning that what is our digital strategy, enterprise, but also for factories. Big issues are because many customers, at least here in Finland, big customers, they have SAP as an ERP, and there is to come S/4HANA S4, which means that this is exactly the good momentum to think about what is based on capabilities, the role of ERP in future than it is today, because of we need to have a dynamic capabilities continuously updating, changing. So we need to take the complexity away from ERP towards the cloud-based solutions in order to have the capabilities for continuous development. That is one thing there, and so on. So it is, and then how the factories are linked, because too often people are developing enterprise level IT and end customers and forget what is the factories.
Yeah.
So that is, and so I see that now this year is the learning curve, realizing, planning, doing some proof of concept. 22, 23, it start to grow this cybersecurity thing. Data management platforms becomes more and more common because they enabling you all quality operations. And then factories start to gradually go for predictive maintenance more and more. And that is the next thing to come. We have talked about it for many years already, but still not many implemented.
Why is that?
I believe it is too much enterprises have focused for IT and end user facing solutions and forgetting this factory. But now it's a year of factories, let's say, call it. Let's nominate that this is a year of factories. So it will come, and somebody has done it already always, but major part of the companies has not. So that's why it is still to come. And I see the great need that this quality management is one to go and come. So because of at the factory, we need to secure the availability. Whatever helps companies, factories secure availability is key. That's why cybersecurity is one. That's why
Yes.
continuous operation is another. That the production is performing, availability, performance, quality.
Yeah.
That is overall equipment efficiency. So I wouldn't say that at least in coming 2 years, nothing. It's data management platforms, predictive maintenance, but then 4 and 5 years time, AI is more and more there because we have now first 2 to 3 years learned about the digital. We have a data management platform, which is foundation. We have some operations there, which after is naturally we can put some AI more and more. So then it's turned to that.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't explain it clearly enough, but or
No,
I'm
no.
too conservative or whatever. But
No, I think you explained really well. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's interesting to know it because, in simple terms, if you ask people involved in IoT what they predict to happen in the future with factories and various elements of industry, you can often draw a mean from this. and start to look at trends and pattern analysis. And I think it's very interesting what you've mentioned, and also the aspect of perhaps people knowing about this but not yet really implementing it because it's not been a priority. They've looked at other priorities. So it'd be really useful to see what happens in the future. And no doubt you'll be there, you'll be involved somehow, Jouko, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But also I would like to emphasize that one is what is kind of holding it back, that in many companies, factory directors are somehow too strong persons and too influencers. And that's why maybe that companies, once they get the business and factory managers come more and more same, then the decision making is better. Now the factories say that we cannot do this because they are afraid availability or performance will go down.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in every development that we believe that it should happen tomorrow, but people are slow movers, and if you need to guarantee sales and profit, you know, that holds you back to do radical changes. So it's many factors to be considered, but it is to come. We are already on the way, and I see great positive things to happen.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great point to end the show today here, Jouko. But I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on and sharing your insights, specifically from your standpoint as CTO at Fujitsu Finland, where you've been, where you're going within IoT. It's really insightful, and I'm sure all the listeners have really enjoyed this episode. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tom. And we strongly believe that now it's the time to move, and we are here to help.
Okay. And I think that's a perfect closing statement. Thank you. Thank you, Jouko.
Bye.
Bye.